En ocasiones estamos muy lejos. A veces perdemos contacto o esquivamos la mirada. Otras nos vemos obligados a ser distantes. Muchas veces no podemos escuchar, no podemos ver. Pero la realidad está ahí. Con las maravillas diarias de cada viaje. Con todos los sueños y esperanzas de la humanidad. Con todas las alegrías, lágrimas y miedos de un planeta vivo. Estamos llamados a estar allí. Estamos llamados a participar. Nunca dejes de ver. Deja que el cine abra tus ventanas al mundo.
Nice to meet you both. I'm Larse. I'm the programming director. I'm so glad to meet you both and the new normality. But it's kind of cool to can talk to you and ask you a few questions about Morgana. As you know, all the festival gonna be online in the cinema, and what we are trying to do is to let the audience have this experience, even though there's online. So do you want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Isabel Peppard. I'm one of the directors of Morgana documentary.
And I'm Josie Hess, and I'm the other director of Morgana.
And how's the experience to co-direct a documentary?
It's really, oh, you go. It's just like this. This is a great example. It's a lot about like collaboration and so Isabel, would you like to answer the question?
I think it's been pretty amazing. I think one of the things about, co-directing a documentary is that making a documentary is such a long process that it's really like a marathon, and especially in a situation like this where, we made it independently, we didn't have like a lot of financing, and really having a teammate in it, to kind of get you through the long haul, and someone that you're excited about working with and that you kind of enjoy working with. I think for even just in a kind of morale way, I think that was really useful for us in a way, just to get through the like hard slog of years of making this film.
And I think we have very, very complementary skills. So like we're able to sort of fill in and tag. It's almost like a tag team sort of thing.
That's great. Yeah. Very useful. And also I'd like to know, are you friends from before? How do you met each other?
So we were friends from before. We'd met in I think maybe like 2013 or 2014, and I had been interning and working at Monster Pictures, and Isabel had just come off the back of her short, which was really successful, and so we were working together on a few scripts at the time. And then kind of we're thinking about what would be a good calling card for our maybe production company, or we were both really interested in telling stories that hadn't been told, and I think that's sort of how we sort of stumbled into creating some documentary. What were we shooting? Like sizzle reels back in Melbourne.
We had this one documentary sizzle reel we were shooting kind of around, the burlesque world, which was, had been done a little bit before, but this was a long time ago as well. So, and then Josie was working with Morgana already. They were kind of making some films together, and Morgana wanted, initially she wanted me to come and direct her 50th birthday experience, which was the Phoenix, the suspension. I don't want to kind of spoiler it. But then Josie told me kind of more about Morgana's story, and we both had a big conversation about it, and we were like, oh, we should actually make a film about this woman, such an interesting story. She'd only been 2 years before. She'd been this kind of repressed housewife in Albury and in the country Australia, and there were so many I guess we were quite interested in her as a character because we hadn't seen that character represented before, you know, kind of middle-aged woman, kind of self-actualizing in a way where, you know, her sexuality was such a big and visible part of that, you know, and I think, and then, you know, beyond that, there were so many other things, you know, that kind of, you know, that it was quite artistic, you know, there was like a lot of queerness, a lot of fetish, you know, a lot of things that we were both quite drawn into.
That's great. I'm very interested in Morgana. I watched a film. Well, we have in our official selection last year a documentary called oh damn it, it's a rapper girl. Now I missed the name, but it's a Sweden film made by 4 girls that met this rap star from Sweden, and then suddenly they put together a documentary. And for me, it's quite an experience because I've been programming films since like 12 years now. And year by year, I watch this female movement growing. At the beginning, there's not a lot of females directors. There are not a lot of strong females portraits. You know, there's always this male vision about how to be a woman, how to be a strong woman, and it's different from the female point of view. And every time I watch these kind of movies as Morgana, I think men cannot make film like this. He has not this view, this approach. I don't know. What do you think? Are you agree with me, or maybe I'm wrong, right?
I think it's interesting what you say about the strong woman character, because I think that this kind of idea of what makes a character strong, you know, it can be, you know, quite reduced, you know, especially when it comes to female characters written by men or directed by men. And I think one of the things that really attracted us to Morgana as a character was her duality, you know, the fact that she is a very strong character, you know, but she's also a very vulnerable character, you know, she's also very raw. And the fact that both of these things, you know, this kind of both strength and kind of vulnerability can coexist within a character and not be mutually exclusive. I think that was something that was really interesting, you know, to us.
I think with the gender question, I think that might be a bit of a false dichotomy because gender is obviously a spectrum. So I don't know if it's that men couldn't tell this story, but I definitely think something we were talking about just the other day actually was that we do obviously have a very specific perspective that we bring to this film. A lot of things are a given. You know, sex is a positive. Sex work isn't a bad thing necessarily. You know, we're interested in telling Morgana's story from her perspective and not undermining it with like a whole bunch of other men or other perspectives on top of that. So I definitely think whether it's a gender thing or not, I don't know, but Isabel and I bring a certain perspective to it.
That's true. Yeah, it's a point of view. And how was to work with her? Because, I also think she's very vulnerable. She's had a lot of baggage. And I don't know if sometimes that make the works easier or harder.
I mean, she's incredibly, sorry, I'm like, it's very early. I think she's an incredibly, I guess her vulnerability is her strength, I think, in many ways. So she's an incredibly giving subject. Like, we were very fortunate. I think, you know, you never know when you start out to tell a story, like you have an inkling that maybe, you know, they're going to be able to tell their story well. But she's certainly so, part of that vulnerability is that she's so open, I guess, in a way. And she's very willing to tell her story. So that definitely ended up making things, I think, easier in some ways. But maybe you have a different perspective on that one.
I mean, I think that, you know, it's a very kind of patriarchal narrative that vulnerability is weakness. You know, I really think that that's a kind of, you know, like these ideas that, you know, being able to open yourself and somehow, you know, denotes some kind of emotional weakness. You know, I think that really does come from a patriarchal view on what's strong and what's not strong. That's what I personally think. But I think in the case of Morgana, she described herself this way as well. She is a total control freak, you know, as well as having her own struggles. She is a director. She does have a business background, which we didn't have time to cover in our film. So I think she's both, you know, she says, you know, like, you know, in some ways, like she's like this kind of, she loves a challenge. When she started making erotica, she went straight into like, I'm having a website, I'm, getting public, she's like hardcore business. So I think that we never felt like we were dealing with this subject that was really vulnerable and had no agency, like she had her ups and downs, but she was certainly, going into it with open eyes, and she certainly was looking at it to some degree, like there was a certain amount of business, I think, in the way she's looking as well.
And how long does it take to make Morgana? Because there's a lot of footage in there. I know.
A lot of footage. Yeah. 5 years. We were following her for about 5 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
And we did.
Between countries, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they say that the average documentary is 7 years. So I feel like we kind of really got in there and just like did it in a really tight amount. We're kind of winners in that way. I think we beat people.
Yeah, I mean, and we did like overshoot a lot because we hadn't made a documentary before, not even a short documentary. So this was really jumping straight into the fire. So we overshot a lot, and we did do a lot of interviews, which I think, did start to tire Morgana because, we had missing pieces and we had to do pickups. But I think in the end it worked in our favour because that intense time together, we really got to know each other in really intimate ways. So I think that kind of worked out.
And how does she feel? So have you asked her how did the reaction with the documentary? Is she happy? Is she glad? Or she says, "Oh, you missed this point. You missed another thing."
It was terrifying showing her because she hadn't seen anything for 5 years. Like she obviously remembered what we had filmed, but also 5 years is a long time, I guess, to not see anything. And I sat and showed her the first, I think it was like picture lock. So we showed her, we wanted to do the due diligence of making sure, was there anything that genuinely made her uncomfortable or whatever. So, I had no idea. I thought she was going to like it, but you never know when someone sits down and actually watches something. It was terrifying. She sat there silently the whole time. I felt like I was outside my body holding her hand, watching this thing. And then at the end, she was like, "That was pretty good, wasn't it?" I'm like, yeah, I think it might be. And so she made like, I think one tiny change, just taking out a picture of some auntie, nothing major. But yeah, we were incredibly honored and blessed that she was so, accepting and really happy with it. Yeah.
And we had our world premiere at Melbourne International Film Festival, which was before the pandemic. So we got to have that in this crazy, huge Art Deco kind of theatre, and the audience gave Morgana a standing ovation. So she was so pleased. And we ended up, it was like this huge event. So I think, I think she'd already been kind of out in the world sharing her story before we got involved. So it was kind of an extension, and a more, cohesive portrait of, I guess, the version of her that was already out there, including some of the porn and things that she was already kind of sharing that online and things like that. So it was more a kind of, I guess, like a full rounded kind of, humanization of her and her journey, so yeah, but no, she was happy. I think she'd like to be traveling with it as we would.
It's very interesting what you're saying about the Melbourne International Film Festival, because now for the filmmakers in this year, the experience of release a film is going to be completely different from other years. So it's quite nice that you had this premiere with a lot of people, because we're going to be there again. Yeah. How do you feel about that? How do you feel this pandemic through your premiere and the rest of the festivals? Are you going to be in Fantasia, right?
Oh yeah, that's secret. Oh no, it's under embargo. It's
going to be released by August 13th.
Yeah, no, the 6th. It's
yeah. So okay, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, Fantasia.
It's a major bummer. Like we've both been part of the horror community here, and it would have been amazing to go to Fantasia. Like it's a festival, I would have loved to go to, and so yeah. I don't know. Look, honestly, for me, I'm a bit bummed out, but I kind of feel like just so many people are doing it so tough right now. It's hard to feel like super like, oh no, my film, you know, when there's like people dying and everyone's losing their businesses and, you know, I guess as much as like it is kind of, you know, hard after like so many years of hard work, I think it's kind of in comparison to what else is happening, it does kind of fall away a little bit.
And I think one thing, like there's a slight silver lining in that it's more accessible. So people in like regional centers and people maybe who have accessibility issues can actually see the film. So there's like, I guess that has been a positive, I suppose.
You are an optimistic girls. I like Yeah, I think that's true. In the end, it's true because now this film going to be available in the whole country, not only in our city. So that's great.
Yeah.
A lot of people can watch it from all over the country. And I think that's an advantage also. And what's I know it just I think it's just Melbourne, right? The people watch the film, but I guess there's some questions that people repeat, like I don't know, there's something that people want to know about the documentary.
That's a good question. What is the most common question we get?
Just trying to think. God, it's so scattershot in a way. It's fairly diverse.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we've covered a lot of the major ones where it's like, how did you meet and how did you make the film and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know if we do get like one sort of pertinent.
We get a bit of like what Morgana thinks about it, you know, which you've already covered. Just trying to think what else. Oh God. No, it's a funny film. It's a bit of a Rorschach test in a way. Like you kind of get from it what resonates with your personal experience. So that it's been a real diversity of kind of questions and opinion and things like that. No, I think you've covered the main ones.
Okay, great. Yeah, for me also it's in my, you know, I'm in my middle 40s and I'm in a successful marriage. That's great. But, there's something in there, like I'm thinking to make an erotica film, you know, like, maybe I should try to put together an erotica film, you know. When Morgana was like, what, great, another girl's doing the same thing. I think it's great. And I think it's a great job that you did with the documentary. It's very interested. It's very respectful. I mean, all the time you respect the boundaries between the character and the story. I think it's very well done. Congratulations. And I'm pretty sure it's going to have major success in the other festivals you're going to be. And I don't know if you want to give some quick, greeting to our audience watching us on social media.
Yeah. Hello, Mexico. We wish we could be there. We would love to be in Mexico joining you all watching our film Morgana. Josie.
If you can, you should totally find us on social media and tell us what you think. You can use #Morgana. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Come and find us and say hi.